Well, Deshaun had counted them out, but the Cleveland Browns said, y'all need to count me in to the tune of $230 million fully guaranteed, Skip. They made him an offer he couldn't refuse because if we are to believe the stories that were, the sources and the stories that have been reported, he was trying to decide between Atlanta and the New Orleans Saints. But I can assure you, Atlanta nor New Orleans was willing to go to what Cleveland did. Skip, we've never seen anything like this before. And what we're starting to see is more and more NFL teams fully guaranteed, if not all, a large portion of the contract. I love the way the NFL is heading. But Skip, when they came back to the table, Cleveland's like, what can we do to make, Deshaun, what can we do to make it right? And his agent, David Muguleta, said, this is what you can do to make it right. And it says, no problem. And because, Skip, in order for you to talk to Deshaun, you had to have cleared it with the Texans about the draft compensation. This is what we want. We want 3 first-rounders and whatever else the other compensation was. Do you want a quarterback to throw in this? Like, nah, we like what we got with Davis Mills. We're going to try to build around him. So the quarterback is off the table. More teams than not, Skip, when you see Seattle, they took Drew Lock in return. When the Rams traded for Matthew Stafford, they took Jerry Goff in return. Normally when you have a quarterback, you need a quarterback. Okay, throw your quarterback in. They said, nah, we good. So for me, Skip, when I look at it, there's no doubt in my mind, Deshaun grew up about less than an hour away from Atlanta. He was a ball boy. I think at the time that he was a ball boy, they had probably moved from Swanee to Flowery Branch, which is very close to Gainesville, Skip. New Orleans, the fan base, heavy African-American. He's like, okay, I like Atlanta. I like New Orleans. But Skip, when Cleveland circled back, $230 million fully guaranteed? Skip, he was about to start the first year of the new deal. They say, nah, bro, we're going to make this thing right for you. We're going to make you an offer you cannot refuse. Nobody is turning down this kind of money, Skip, because we had never seen it happen before, this kind of guaranteed money. So when that happened, and if you look at it, Skip, if you really look at it, Cleveland is more talented, player for player, than Atlanta and New Orleans. You look at that offensive line. You look at the running back situation. They traded for Amari Cooper. They got Peoples-Jones. They got Schwartz. They got Higgins. They franchised Njoku. There's a possibility they might circle back with Jarvis and work on a contract that lowered a lower value. You look at the defense. Now, the defense comes and goes. Some games you look at them and say, you know what? That's the type of defense that can take you a long way in the playoffs. And then you look at them the next week, you Skip, what the hell? You got Myles Garrett, you got Jadeveon Clowney, you got Ward, you got this and that.
New Orleans is better on defense.
But if you look at the totality of the teams, Cleveland Browns are a better team. If you look at offensive line.
There is Kamara and there is
Michael Thomas.
If he comes back strong.
It's been 2 years, Skip, so we don't know what Michael Thomas is going to be. But I think the thing is what they look at, Skip, they say, you know what? Deshaun Watson puts us over the hump. Because what we've seen, if you don't have that quarterback, Skip, you ain't going nowhere. You can't have enough talent. You mentioned they got all this talent in New Orleans. What didn't they have? A quarterback. You look at all teams that have a bunch of talent, and you see what teams are loading up. They're loading up to give their quarterbacks even more talent. You see what Cincinnati did, say, we got enough offensive talent. They got 3 new offensive linemen because that was the weak link. So for me, Skip, $230 million. I don't know how Deshaun turned that down. Cleveland was willing to say, I understand the blowback that's going to come with this, but we're willing to accept that.
And they will get blowback because they already are getting blowback. Okay. I hear every point you just made, and I'm going to see you and raise you a couple of points.
You going to raise my 230?
Yes. I believe that the New Orleans Saints, run by Gail Benson, had gotten to a point of... what's the best word for this? They were getting a little antsy about this. It was starting not to feel right. I think they were cooling off on Deshaun, and I think he and his representatives felt that because they weren't willing to, number one, even do the deal, but number two, to do nothing of that sort of guarantee.
Right.
Okay.
Skip, he was just about the end of the first year of the contract he just signed 2 years ago.
That is correct. And number two, I believe that Mr. Blank running the Falcons watched because this was a trial balloon period for both New Orleans and Atlanta because there's much publicity about it's come down to New Orleans and Atlanta.
Correct.
And it started to feel, I believe, to Mr. Blank like, uh-oh, this is going to be even worse than I thought. So he obviously wasn't willing to risk anywhere near this kind of guarantee for Deshaun, because you indicate that kind of guarantee, then you are completely all in.
Yeah.
Even worse, the Browns sent a message to the league like, we've even got Deshaun's back if you
find him, yeah.
And if you suspend him, I don't know what it could be. It could be half the year.
Right.
It could be on appeal. It could be 6 games. It's going to be something.
Right.
At first, you thought he'd paid enough penance that he'd already
been on the conventional. Yes,
missed a whole year. I'm here to tell you it's going to happen, and they backed up their new quarterback by saying, well, we'll only put you on the books for $1 million base this coming year. So you're only going to lose, it's like short of $60,000 a game, which compared to the $230 million guaranteed is chicken feed, right? It's cookie jar money for the first year.
Right.
So Cleveland's even sending a message to the league, we got our man's back even through next year.
Yes.
Okay. So what do I always say about this game? It's a quarterback's game.
Yep.
I was, before all the fallout, I was his biggest supporter, Deshaun's. I was even a bigger fan of his than you were when, especially
Clemson.
coming out of Clemson. I thought those were 2 spectacular games that he played against Nick Saban in Alabama. Barely lost the first one, pulled off the second one thanks to a last-second pass to Hunter Renfrow. And I said, I'm all in on him. But I'd never heard a discouraging word about his behavior off the field until this hit the fan. The Browns, according to Mary Kay Cabot, were fully ready to go forward with Baker Mayfield. That's when we left each other on Friday. And she writes that the Browns believe they could win with Mayfield in 2022 and that he'd fare a lot better after having the torn labrum in his left shoulder repaired. Blah, 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 knowing it was a long shot to land any of these, the top quarterbacks, starting with Deshaun. The Browns were content to bring Mayfield back for his 5th season at about $19 million and see if he could more closely resemble the explosive quarterback he was during his rookie season and during the second half of 2020, which we've gone back and forth about. Okay, so all of a sudden, what changed? Well, Deshaun's camp said, well, wait a second. We're having issues over here because we can't get much at all guaranteed from either New Orleans or Atlanta. And I don't know what happened to Carolina, because I thought at first I thought they were the one that was all in, right?
Yes.
They're fairly
they were all in, but I don't think Deshaun was as high on them as he was New Orleans and Atlanta.
Even though he did go to college in the neighborhood, at least, in South Carolina.
And they training camp is in Spartanburg. Very close.
So very close. Okay, so they're ready to go forward with Baker, but it's also reported that Baker, at that point, once it got out that the owner and company flew down last Tuesday to see Deshaun, Baker's saying, I demand a trade, and he was not going to back off that. So it felt like to the Cleveland insiders, our bridge is burned here. So all of a sudden they say, oh my God, we got to go all in. We have to pull out every stop. We have to offer every single dollar guaranteed. This is unheard of in the history of this league. It's never happened before. He shattered the guaranteed money recently set by one Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. But he blew that out of the water. And as a caveat, as the icing on the cake, they offer, and we'll even have your back in year 1, because let's just make the base $1 million in year 1. So you're backloaded to where you are set for life.
Because you can only find the base salary of what your player makes during the course of that season. You can't go after any bonus that he has or will receive at a later date and time. Skip, this reminds me of a very situation. You remember Deflategate? What did they do? They reworked Tom Brady's contract, took it down to $1 million, and he got fined the 4 games, which was that. So let's not pretend that what Cleveland did was unprecedented. Maybe what they did, Skip, as far as fully guaranteeing the contract, maybe that's unprecedented. Unlike Kirk Cousins that had 7 years of fully guaranteed money. So the Cleveland Browns knew this, Skip. Once they dabbled, they've set it out there, and you and I have been going back and forth. I said, Skip, if I'm Baker, I'm telling him to kiss my butt. You're not finna publicly court somebody else and then think you're gonna come back with me because he or she shunned you. No. Once they did that, Skip, what other choices did they have? Am I gonna try to win a championship with Case Keenum, or I'm gonna try to win a championship with some other quarterback? No. Okay, now, I pick up the phone. Jimmy Haslam, was it Matthew Barry? Some Barry, I think is the GM. I pick up the phone, I call David Muguleta. Dave, how can we make this right? How can we get Deshaun interested in us? well, this is what
You know what? I'm going to assume that call went the other way. I'm assuming that David Mugoleta called them.
He might say, well,
hey,
Deshaun would be very interested
because he'd already said flat out, you're out. And
Right.
once you tell them they're out, they might have thought, okay, we're done.
Right.
But when he called, I'm just guessing
Right.
here, educated guessing, that he called to say, wait a second, our offers on the table aren't all that great.
Right.
You want to make a second one?
Right.
Yeah. We'd like to, because now the Baker Bridge to them is burned, right?
But Skip, here's the thing. What offer? Bruh, you're about to enter, this is about to be the first year of a four-year deal.
Yep.
What you mean? Hold on, bruh, you ain't even played one down on that contract, so
Nope.
you're straight.
Okay.
So when you come to me and you says, okay, well, this is what we'll do. We'll give you $80+ million and we'll guarantee it. We'll add a fifth year and we'll fully guarantee the contract, Skip. Even if I'm not even that interested, man, man, it's gonna be cold. Baltimore is cold.
It is.
Pittsburgh is cold. Cleveland is cold. I'm a Southern boy.
Yeah.
I ain't really liking the cold,
No.
but Skip, for $230 million, I can buy me a coat.
Okay.
I'll be straight.
That's what the deal is. That's what just happened. And in the end, down the road, this is a sad but true statement that I'm about to make.
Right.
If somehow Deshaun wins them a Super Bowl in 2 years or 3 years or whatever it might be, all will be forgiven and forgotten.
Yes.
Because Browns Nation will be
Right.
very happy with that.
Yeah, but Skip, we know how the NFL works.
Yep.
The NFL is a business. It's about winning. And we've seen players that have done things. And I'm not, Skip, I don't want to, well, he did this and he did that, but I'm saying there have been players with questionable behavior that's gone on to have tremendous success in the NFL. So to try to say that Deshaun Watson is the first and the only guy that have done something that we deem unacceptable and been given an opportunity, you and I both know because you've covered the game longer than I played it. So you know some of the things that have transpired prior to even social media being able to get a hold of it. And guys have been allowed to play and continue on their career. And some of them, you know what, they happen to be a teammate of mine in Canton, Ohio.
Okay, I got it. And remember, Jimmy Haslam and his wife had taken shots on other quote-unquote troubled players, Kareem Hunt and that Malik McDowell.
Yes.
Who's had all kinds of
Right.
issues. Well, yeah, but so does Bill Belichick. So
Yes.
does Jerry Jones.
Yes.
They all do.
Yes.
I got that. I'm with you. This was a little different case that is pending, and yet you take your shot, and I'm the first one to tell you, sitting right here, right now, is Deshaun Watson better than Baker Mayfield? You better believe he is,
Yes.
but I said that from the start.
Right.
If, in fact, he's okay after he's been out, he may end up being out for a year and maybe a half.
Right.
Okay? Can he bounce right back and be Deshaun? Well, if he can, then
They're gonna be
every
in
penny they paid will be more than it'll be cheap for them to get a quarterback.
If your quarterback is great, you're underpaying him no matter what price you're paying him. If he's
Absolutely.
great. That's just Skip, that's just the way it is.
It's the way the game's built.
Hey, if you got a pitcher and he can go out there and give you 8-9 innings every outing, you can't pay him enough.
Nope, you cannot. Agreed.
Well, guys, it's interesting that fully guaranteed contract could protect Deshaun financially if a suspension does come down from the league. That'll be curious to watch.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.